Hi everyone, Sophie from Happy Baby Sleep here. Today I'm going to be talking about your most burning question, which is when can my baby sleep through the night? So I want to start by saying that there's no right or wrong or black and white when it comes to sleeping through. It does depend on quite a few factors. And probably the first one, really is, your baby. So every baby is capable of sleeping through at a different age, and it's really about following what's right for your baby and also what's right for you as a parent. So I like to say my mantra is nothing's a problem unless it's a problem for you. So while I know parents that are quite happy to feed their babies one time or more, up to 3 or 4 times until they're 12 months, I know many parents who really are focused on having their baby sleep through the night as soon as possible. So the factors really that I like to address before talking about sleeping through with a baby is having them being physiologically ready, and that means if they're going to be sleeping through the night 10 to 12 hours, then it goes without saying that they'll be going without a feed for that amount of time. So to be physiologically ready really means from 6 months plus that they're capable of doing that, and that's around the age that solids have been introduced or they've been established, so they're actually having enough to eat and also milk feeds during the day to compensate for them not being fed overnight. I find from experience it tends to be a little bit later than 6 months. On average, I would say that night weaning, both for breast and bottle fed babies, formula fed babies, is more like from 8 months plus. But, look, there's babies that do it from 6 months, babies that sleep through the night from 6 weeks. So it really is an individual thing. So firstly, I like to cover off age, so I'd like to have the minimum of 6 months. Then it does depend whether or not your baby is breast or formula fed. So I find that the formula fed babies can sleep through the night sooner than the babies who are breastfed, just because formula can sit in the stomach for a lot longer than what breast milk can. So that's one thing to consider, as well as teething and developmental milestones can wreak havoc on sleep, as you're probably aware by now, being a parent. And it can make it really difficult at these times when they're, even if you have environment covered off, even if you've got a good routine, you can find that your babies naturally, regress in their sleep patterns. They can start catnapping during the day, they become overtired, can start waking more frequently overnight, whether or not that's from being overstimulated during the day, from practicing all their new skills during a leap, or whether it's from pain from teething. So you can expect that, especially in the first year when there's so many dramatic changes going on physically and cognitively, that you are going to have, some times where it's a bit up and down. So, the idea of sleeping through can be, great one. You can do everything that you can to have them sleeping through most of the time, but you're always going to hit these spots where, you might have regression and they might start waking during the night, which is completely normal. And at these times, I just say, you've just got to do what you can to get through and, pick up and get back on track once, they've either finished the leap or, their teething subsided and they're not in so much pain. So the things that we can do to make sure that our babies sleep through or sleep as best that they're going to really is making sure that they've got a consistent routine. So as I've stated before in my blog posts and, in other videos, that rather than sticking to rigid, times for waking and for meals and for naps and for bedtime, I like to focus on an age appropriate awake time. So this changes depending obviously on how old your baby is. If you wanted to head over to my website or my blog, I have an article called Getting Into a Routine, and there I've outlined all the awake times, recommended awake times for the first 12 months that you can follow to. So I find that's a great resource for routine. And then, also the environment's very important. So again, it's always making sure that they're warm enough, 19 to 22 degrees in the environment, making sure that they're bedding, they're dressed appropriately for the weather, especially if you're in Melbourne, it's getting cold, it's autumn and it'll be winter soon. So, making sure that they're dressed appropriately for sleep, making sure that their room's nice and dark. We want to really be promoting the release of the melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. White noise is really good to make sure that they can sleep as best they're going to, helps to block out any external noises or distractions. And then I find on top of the environmental stuff, being consistent as a parent in the way that we respond to our babies, when they perhaps wake overnight is really important. So just as, with a toddler, we can't, one day allow them to jump on the couch, for example, and the next day we make it a punishable offence. That confuses them. The same way it does if, with one night with our babies, we might feed them. Then the next time we try to settle them, and then, sometimes they can come into our bed, sometimes they can't, and, we're all over the shop. So I find that, setting boundaries, making sure that you're consistent with the way that you're responding to them is very important, and will make sure that they know what to expect and will help them sleep better. So obviously that's an age thing as well. So, really up until 6 months, it's not uncommon to be doing a dream feed and then one other feed between whether it 11 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, so that's totally normal for 6 months. And look, I say even up to sort of 8 or 9 months, it's still perfectly fine to be feeding your baby once overnight. I do have some other tips on an article on my website, which the link is below, about night weaning and some of the options that you've got for night weaning and when to consider it. If you had any other questions about your baby sleeping through, when the right time is, please get in touch with me if I can help you at all. Sophie@happybabysleep.com.au. I also run a Q&A on my Facebook page on a Wednesday, so jump on if you've got any questions there, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, guys.